Welcome to Faith Lessons. This is Dr. Scott Stripling, Provost at the Bible Seminary, and this is the book of Joshua. Joshua came out of Egypt with Moses in the year 1446 and wandered through the wilderness, and he was one of the two faithful spies that then led the new generation into the Promised Land around 1406. And we know from Joshua chapter 2:1 and Joshua chapter 3:1 that they were camped in the plains of Moab at a place called Shittim, which would be modern Tal el-Hammam. They miraculously crossed the Jordan River, and this really gave a bookend to the conquest period because they came out of Egypt with the parting of a river, and then they come into the Promised Land with the parting of a river, as if God was saying to the people, as I was with Moses, so I will be with Joshua. And of course, the Lord admonishes and encourages Joshua before they cross over. Even the angel of the Lord comes to him, and he's told several times, be strong and very courageous, for you will lead these people to possess the land. And then, of course, he tells him, do not let this book of the law depart out of your mind, out of your mouth, but meditate on it day and night. And if you'll be faithful to do the words of this law, then no one will be able to stand before you all the days of your life. And that's exactly what happened. So once the Israelites cross the Jordan River, then they camp at a place called Gilgal, and then they have the famous battle at Jericho. This is Joshua chapter 6. And of course, they ultimately march around the walls 7 days and 7 times on the 7th day, and the walls of Jericho come down, or at least the massive mud brick superstructure comes down and forms a ramp, and the city is taken and is left as a first fruits offering to God. They proceed up one of the major wadis called the Wadi Kelt to a place called Ai, and they're defeated at Ai because of the sin of Achan in Joshua 7, and then they have victory once they deal with this in chapter 8. And of course, I spent many years excavating this site of Ai, known as Khirbet el Makatir. And from there, they headed up north to ancient Shechem with Mount Gerizim on one side, Mount Ebal on the other side, and they pronounced the blessings of the covenant from Mount Gerizim, the curses of the covenant from Mount Ebal, and Joshua built an altar on Mount Ebal, and there they called on the name of the Lord. This is followed by the southern campaign, and so if you want to think about the book of Joshua organizationally like this, we have the initial surge, which is gaining a foothold at Jericho and Ai, and then we have the renewal of the covenant, and then the southern campaign, and then the northern campaign. And of course, Hatzor in Joshua 10 and Joshua 11 is the chief of all these kingdoms, and God gives them Hatzor. This is a major thing. 3 cities which they burned in the conquest, Jericho, Ai, and Hatzor. The others they inhabited, they conquered, or they formed alliances because God had promised them, you're going to live in houses you didn't build, you're going to occupy cities that you did not construct. Well, once the initial conquest is over, they all come to a place called Shiloh. And of course, Shiloh is where we are excavating right now, and I'm fortunate to be the director of excavations there on behalf of the Associates for Biblical Research. And Joshua 18:1 says that Joshua gave the tribal allotments at Shiloh for the 7 tribes who had not yet received their allotments, and they pitched the Mishkan, or the tabernacle, and this becomes the center of Israel life and worship now for the next 3 centuries. Ultimately, when we reach the end of the book of Joshua, we have the famous declaration in chapter 24, verse 15. Choose this day who you will serve. Will it be the gods that your fathers served on the other side of the river, or will it be the Lord your God? In other words, Yahweh, the monotheistic God of the Israelites. And then Joshua makes the famous statement, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Our faith lesson today is that very thing. You have a choice today who you will serve. It's my prayer that you'll join me in serving the great monotheistic God of the Israelites. And as we do that, He will be faithful to bring us into our inheritance.
Thanks for listening. Stay connected with us at thebibleseminary.org and subscribe to this podcast.